On a dark and lonely night, a creepy woman who is bleeding stands with a knife in her hand. A little boy sees her staring while his father's car is driving by. He asks his dad if they should help the woman, but his dad says they should call the police. They are driving down the road when they see a little girl running in front of them. It looks like she is escaping from someone who is following her. The father finally stops his car and goes down to check what is happening. He tells the child to stay in the car and be safe. After a while, the girl comes to their car and begs for help. Just after the boy lets her in, the crazy bleeding lady also arrives and tries to break the window. Luckily, her father gets there just in time to knock her down. Soon after, the police arrive to look into the scene. Christina is a first-grade teacher who wants to adopt a teen girl she calls student. After she has finished the paperwork, something strange happens. A car accident is found on a road in the middle of nowhere. A man walking by stops to look at the mess. When he does, he sees someone on the floor with serious injury. He intends to call the police with his cell phone, but there is no reception in the deep mountains. So, he calls for help on his car's wireless phone. Right after he reports the incident, a lady with bloodstains all over her face appears right beside him. The man is scared and tries to figure out who she is and what she wants. Someone standing behind her suddenly shoots the woman. The man runs away in his car, but the murderer shoots him as well. Elizabeth is the name of this woman, who is a serial murderer. Gerald, who used to be sheriff but is now retired, and Jamie, who is the new sheriff, talk about Elizabeth. 20 years ago, she took 5 young girls away. One of the 5 is Christina. Unfortunately, Elizabeth manages to break free from the police car during the aforementioned car accident. Elizabeth has a bad reputation for being a cruel serial murderer. Back then, she ran into another house to get the girls and attacked the parents of those girls. The bodies of 4 teenage girls were found in her backyard when she was arrested. Christina is the only lucky survivor. Now that Elizabeth is free, Gerald worries that she will do harm to Christina, so he reminds Jamie to take good care of her. Jamie turns around to find a man pointing a gun at him. The property of the man has been frozen, and Jamie is here to make the occupant leave. The old man hates to leave the house where he has stayed for years. Jamie is determined to keep Christina safe from the danger that is coming. When night comes, Christina's friends throw her a birthday party. She uses this moment to say that she is going to adopt one of her students. The doorbell doesn't ring until she's done talking. When Christina opens the door, Jamie is already there. He informs her that Elizabeth has escaped from a police car. Christina is shocked to her core when she hears that. She can't stop thinking about the painful memory, which makes her feel bad. She stops the party and takes Student away from her house because she is upset. Student is upset and confused, but Christina says she can't do anything else. They get to Christina's foster parents' house. Jamie is there, too. He tells Christina not to worry too much, because there are a lot of police officers looking for Elizabeth. Christina tells her that Elizabeth's main goal will now be to get rid of her. On the same night, Elizabeth attacks someone in the bathroom and stabs him with a broken piece of glass. Gerald and Jamie have another conversation. Gerald reveals that Elizabeth was a nurse who took care of babies when their mothers were asleep. She vanished from the hospital without a trace, and then the girls were reported missing. Christina spent the most time with her out of all the girls. Now, as her captor has left the prison, Christina wants to flee the city. However, while packing her luggage, she comes across a birthday gift from Student. Reading the note written by Student, Christina chooses to remain in the city. Her decision adds worries and anxieties to Jamie. Then, to find out more about Elizabeth, he goes to Gerald's house. Gerald, who was the sheriff in Elizabeth's case 20 years ago, asks Jamie to stop the same tragedy from happening again. Jamie gets the documents that are important to Elizabeth's case and asks his coworker to fix the data on the video recorder. From there, they find a short video clip of Christina when she was only 10 years old. In the interview, Christina said something like she believes in Jesus. Jamie notices something strange, so he tells his coworker to make the video clearer. On the other hand, Christina is worried about Elizabeth as she watches the news about her. She is thrown back to the old days, when she was locked up and tortured. At this time, someone rings the doorbell. Her colleague asks her for a favor, to take care of her child, as she needs to go back to school for a makeup class. Christina agrees to help without even thinking about it. Then, at her house, she plays hide and seek with the child. Later, she finds out from her ex-boyfriend's mother that he has gone missing and that she can't call him. The mother is worried about her son, so she asks Christina to go to his apartment and check it out. Christina tells the mother that she will soon go to her son's house. When she hangs up the phone, the colleague's child is gone, which shocks her. Jamie sends the little girl back and says that she ran out of the house when she started to feel paranoid. Christina is glad to know that the girl is okay. Jamie tells her that he is watching over her from outside her house. Christina says that her kind foster parents have taken her in as their own, and she wants her students to feel the same love and care. Gerald and Jamie talk about the tape at night. Jamie deduces from Elizabeth's words that a third party seems to be involved. Gerald shakes his head at this idea, and he adds that he could very well mean Jesus. Jamie then checks the property by walking around it. He is shocked when Christina shows up in front of him out of the blue. Jamie thinks she's woken up, but she's actually just sleepwalking. The next morning, Christina wakes up to find dust and dirt all over her body. She gives Jamie a cup of coffee before she goes to work and finds out what's going on with Elizabeth. It is said that a truck stolen by her was found 40 kilometers to the south. The further away Elizabeth is, the more secure Christina feels. And then, Christina drops by her ex-boyfriend's house as she promised she would. No one answers when she calls his name. When Christina goes into his room, she finds that he is already deceased. She flees the house, thinking that it must have been done by Elizabeth. Jamie doesn't know how Elizabeth knows the guy, and it's possible that it could be someone else that did it. After Christina leaves, Jamie's co-worker tells her what she thinks about the attack on her ex-boyfriend. They decide that if Elizabeth is behind this, then someone else must be giving her information. Elizabeth has been locked up for 20 years, so she wouldn't have known about him otherwise. When Christina goes back to school, she finds that student is missing. A friend of the student tells him that she has gone to church. Christina goes to the church, where she finds the student kissing a boy. Christina yells at them and takes student away in a rage. Christina and student fight in the car. At last, student gets so upset that she storms out of the car. Jamie goes to Elizabeth's hospital to find out who the informant is. A staff nurse remembers that Elizabeth lost her job because she had an affair with someone else. She adds that the man was in police uniform 5 years ago. So far, Jamie has heard things that make him think that Elizabeth's lover might be Gerald. He also figures that Gerald doesn't want to talk about the third person in the video due to the same reason. Christina tries to get custody of the student by going to her foster dad. Even though the foster dad is a drunk, he threatens to tell Christina's truth to everyone. Christina soon finds out from student that she knows about her bad past. That night, Elizabeth sneaks into the foster dad's house. At first, he thinks the noise is from student. But when he gets back to his own room, he is shocked to find his wife murdered in a pool of blood. Immediately after, Elizabeth slashes him. Student comes out of her room just in time to witness Elizabeth slashing the foster dad. Student runs out of the room without hesitating. Then Elizabeth chases after her. At this point, Jamie notices that there are strange sounds coming from around Christina's house. He surveys the place, only to find Christina sleepwalking and digging soil. The next morning, Christina wakes up in her home and starts crying. She finds out quickly that someone has been to the house. She gets angry in front of Jamie. But Jamie tells her that student's foster parents have been murdered. Right now, student is nowhere to be found. Jamie doesn't understand why Elizabeth hurts the people who are close to Christina. Jamie wants to find out more, but Christina yells at him that she knows nothing. At this point, Jamie is pretty sure that Christina is the one who has been assisting Elizabeth. Elizabeth doesn't finish her off because she really likes her. On top of that, she could have done something wrong during the time she was gone last night. Christina seems to know that Jamie dated Gerald's daughter in the past. So, Christina accuses him that what he did to protect her was just to make himself look good in front of Gerald. Jamie is rendered speechless. Later, Christina looks for student in the church and finds her boyfriend's body, with Elizabeth standing right next to him. Christina runs away from the church because she is scared, but she can't run away from the sad memories of the time she spent with Elizabeth. She remembers the time when Elizabeth also chased after her in the woods. Even scarier is that when she looks up, she sees the house where she was locked up. On the other hand, Jamie's coworker finds the third person and makes the video even clearer. When Jamie hears this, she runs to the church to ask Christina, who tells Elizabeth all of this information. Christina tells him that she used to write Elizabeth a letter every month, and she told her about the student and her ex-boyfriend. In the meantime, they hear that the body of student has been found. Christina breaks down at student's passing, and she leaves after bidding farewell to her. In the meantime, Jamie finds out from a coworker that the video was taken a week before Christina ran away from Elizabeth. All the other girls should have already been deceased at that time, according to the autopsies. But strangely, another girl was found in the mirror reflection. Christina goes home to scream like a crazy person and break things all over. The people in charge of her plan to adopt come to see her. They argue about why the student lost her life and imply that Christina is responsible. She says that she is not Christina. The truth is, the real Christina was captured and stabbed after she ran away. Even now, it's so scary. She digs soil to uncover Christina's body when she sleepwalks. More shockingly, she is the sixth girl in the room. Jamie goes to her house to find out what's going on. She says she's Elizabeth's daughter, but she acts like her name is Christina. Jamie puts her in jail. Gerald and his wife are watching the video of Christina at home at the same time. His wife wants to go for a walk, but as she opens the door, she is shot. Gerald is scared by the sound of gunshots. Upon seeing his wife's corpse, he alerts his daughter to call the police. Right after that, Gerald is the next person to be shot. Gerald's daughter gives Jamie an emergency call. Elizabeth, on the other hand, thinks that she owns Gerald's house. In fact, the fake Christina is the daughter of Elizabeth and Gerald. That is why Gerald asked Jamie to protect her once Elizabeth broke free. Jamie and the imposter drive to Gerald's house together. He first discovers his ex-girlfriend Amy, Gerald's daughter, lying on the floor and bleeding profusely. She tells him that her child has been taken by the murderer. The fake Christina decides to face the music. She walks into a room after hearing the baby cry. As soon as she picks up the baby, Elizabeth appears before her and claims that she has done all this for her. Elizabeth hopes her daughter will appreciate her love, but what she receives is a heavy stab in the belly. Elizabeth doesn't give up easily, so when her daughter is about to take the baby out of the room, she attacks her by surprise. Jamie arrives and pulls the trigger to shoot Elizabeth. The movie then ends with the fake Christina revealing that her real name is Katie.